Hello, everybody! Woo, 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 woo.
What up?
Bam, 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 bam.
Let's go.
I'm gonna start hearing myself on the YouTube channel in just a
Oh
second.
yeah, me too. I'll have to
like
mute it.
we always do.
See, I already opened mine so that you can't hear it.
Mine's open, but did you mute it already?
No, oh, there I am live. Okay, hey everyone, we are live. What's up?
Live.
All right, welcome to this September 5th, 2022 Labor Day edition, if you're in the U.S., celebrating of Photography and Friends Live. How's it going, everybody?
It's going great. How are you doing, Phil? I like the fresh haircut.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Dude, this is the first time I've been to a barber shop in, I can't even remember.
What have you been doing?
Years. I like buzz my own hair.
You just buzz
and
it.
then wear a hat.
Classic.
Chris Young, Jesse Beach. What's up, everyone watching live right now? If you are watching live, let us know if we all sound good. Oh, Chris already on it.
Beat you to
Hear
it.
ya. See ya. Great.
Knew we were going to be asking that. Yeah.
Where are you tuning in from? Tell us your country, location, and what camera you use.
Ooh, that's always my favorite. I like hearing what people are using.
Yep. And as a reminder, what are we all using? What are you guys on?
My
Leica
daily
Sony.
driver camera is a Leica Q2, and my
Leica
professional
Q2?
camera is a Leica SL, and my video camera now is a Sony.
I've officially converted Will
Oh,
to.
boy.
To Sony?
Yeah, he's a Sony shooter now. Yeah.
I just for video.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted the original Leica SL2S to be like a good video and photo camera, but it's just not there. And the Sony FX3 is wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a proper video camera, though.
Yeah. That's strictly a video camera, and I got the new 24-70 G Master 2, and it's beautiful. Autofocus is rad. Sam, what about you? What are you shooting on these days?
I've been shooting on the Leica M11 a lot lately, actually, which has been a lot of fun. It's a new camera. I just got it a couple months ago, and yeah, it's been great. Full manual. It's weird. No autofocus, no any of that. But it's
What did you say?
it's fun.
Leica M11?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a digital rangefinder camera.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
It's not cheap.
yeah.
Why would I
But
pay that much
apparently
money to be all manual?
Why'd you pay that much money to have to manually focus?
Listen, guys, you just don't get it, okay?
I don't.
Don't, yeah. Like straight up, do not get it.
Well, apparently everyone in the chat is shooting Canon DSLRs or mirrorless cameras. Those are whenever I look at the specs of the new Canons, they are so incredible what they can do. And for whatever reason, I just never gotten to Canon outside the 7D for video. But
Well, yeah, what's
Yeah.
up? We've
enough
got
hating on my thing.
Shutterbug Denise in Toronto using the Rebel T6, Nancy in Phoenix with the Canon R6, Jesse Beach in Vegas, the EOS R, Greg coming in from Oklahoma, Emma in Dublin with the Canon DSLR. Yeah, dude, Canons all the way. BK Winters, Newport Beach,
So many
not
cameras.
far.
Love it.
Oh,
love
I
it.
wish I was in Newport Beach. I'm like an hour inland, probably like 25 degrees hotter.
25 degrees on it. It's like another planet.
Yeah, seriously. And I'm still on the Fuji X-T4, loving it. I got the recently added the 35 millimeter
Ooh.
f2
Very cool.
to my collection. I like how small it is, and yeah, been enjoying that one.
So that's the one thing about, and it's not autofocus like yours is, but all of my lenses are about that size, like the 90 mil and the 50 mil. You know, they're all these tiny little lenses, and I love them for that,
Yeah.
especially if you're traveling.
Yeah. Cool. Well, everyone, welcome. If you're watching the replay, please leave a comment below too in the YouTube comments. We like seeing those after the fact with where you are tuning in from. We're going to get straight into it. Today, we're going to go over the night photography contest winners and some of our other favorite photos, and then we'll jump into Q&A. So if you have questions, just hold your thought for a couple minutes. We're gonna just celebrate our night photography winners. And while I mention this, we just launched the macro photography contest. So that's our next contest. And if you're in the
in our Facebook group, right, Phil?
Yep, in the Photography and Friends Facebook group, that one's happening in there. And so you have all of September to post and the first couple of weeks of October to post your macro shots. And yeah, so let's get into it. As a reminder, the winners of our contest do get some cash prizes. We send out Amazon gift cards to all the winners. So if you win today, I'll be reaching out via Facebook Messenger, and then I'll get your email address so that I can send you your gift card. So that's how that's going to work. And let's just get into it. So for the bronze prize of our night photography contest, our winner today is Himanshu Saini with this awesome photo right here. This is, Will, this is one of your favorite picks, so I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's real loud. When we're talking about, what do you call it? Night stuff. It doesn't always have to be like these bright colored nightscapes. And of course, like I'm always partial to black and white, but I just love how this is like just in a sea of black, and you can see that like the ground or the earth below is total blackness, and then it hits this like level where there's this like lit up building and the lights are uplit, and then you see all these stars. I just love the composition. I think it's like calming in a way, but it's also like, I don't know, vast. And I think that's my favorite part about it. And the composition's great. Like I think this looks better as a vertical than it would be a horizontal, because you see the difference from the like ground into the sky. But yeah, and exposure is really great. It's not like overly bright and it's not too dark. The contrast is really nice. And yeah, I just think it evokes a very nice feeling for me.
Yeah, I really like it. And the edit is good. I'm sure that they probably shot in RAW, probably had a little bit of information. They could have chosen to bring up the foreground exposure, but editing it like black, nice, crunching it down to black is nice, I think. And the stars really pop. And just a great, like, to me, it just like makes it's more interesting to have the subject here with the night sky rather than just the night sky or just the subject with like a not so interesting sky background. So
yeah, and I'm sure there was, I think there's a question, was there any post editing? I'm sure there was, but if they're here, we'd love to hear from them. This would be a tough shot to shoot. I mean, I guess you could do it right, but it does look like there's a little bit of contrast added and black's crushed a tad.
Yeah. Sam, any thoughts about this one? Or
yeah, no, I mean, it's beautiful. It's really crispy, and I think a little bit on YouTube it might be a little hard, but those stars really stand out in the actual image, which you can see on the Photo and Friends site. But the thing that I think I like the most, typically I don't like dead centering a subject, but because there's that light on the top of the building that almost looks like the north light or like, a really bright star or something, I really love that that's actually the center focal point. And it has this very like, I don't know if this is a religious building, but it almost has like this sort of connected to the stars, connected to the sky. Like it has a really cool disposition in that sense. And I love that they crushed the foreground and everything to just have that building and the stars. It's a beautiful photo.
Yeah, great job. And these photos are posted into the Facebook group, and Facebook does a terrible job at compressing the photos, and I'm just using those photos. So we will be posting the winners with their Instagram handles, and not that Instagram is going to be any better, but later on today or tomorrow, you can go follow them and see their work. And I'm sure they've probably posted these photos or will, because they're great ones. So congrats to that bronze prize. Silver prize coming up is Jorge Cardenas, and with this photo right here, which was one of my favorites. I think Will really liked it. We all like this photo, and I think this one to me stood out from just all the submissions because it wasn't just a star photo. It wasn't just like trying to get that long exposure night shot, but it was more of like a scene. And just the lighting here and the colors I just love. And just a lot going on. You know, it's the story of this little supermarket on the corner with this motorbike going by. Someone's on their bicycle about to go inside, and just like the lighting and the colors to me really stood out. And the composition is nice too, nice and balanced.
Yeah, you know, when thinking of night photography, my mind always immediately goes to stars and whatnot. And I think seeing what a lot of people came up with in terms of, just nighttime scenery, and this is such a great one. I'd be curious to know like how much of like making those upper lights blue and then the lower lights orange, like it has like a very serious mood to it, but the
Mm-hmm.
fact that those lights match the text of the building and the, I mean, I don't know, there's just some really nice color coordinating. I think the one thing that I really enjoyed about it, there's that red sign or red shirt like in the window, and it's just like one like little hidden detail focal point that sort of stands out in terms of the other colors going on. Um, but yeah, I just thought it was a really, really great scene captured and a different style of, sort of a long or a night photo shot.
Yeah.
I
So
think I think what you're saying, Sam, too, is like every time I think of night photo, you think of night like outdoors, stars, not necessarily
yeah.
like in a busy city like this. The way that this was post edited reminds me of film. So I would be
Yeah.
amazed if this was taken on film. That'd be awesome, but it definitely has that look, right? It's got the like grain in it. It's got the fall off into the darkness that just like it's like butter almost. So really good job post editing on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the color. Yeah, the tone of the colors is it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It feels like you're there.
Yeah. Jesse Beach says,
Yeah.
awesome color palette. One man's opinion says like a movie scene, kind of like, yeah, that filmic
Yeah.
quality. And I think another thing I love about this is like, I don't think you would have thought this if you're walking by necessarily during the day, this would be a very interesting shot. But the fact that after the fact, at night, I don't know if you're in a building across the street or something, from this angle, it becomes this more cinematic scene. Der Step, is this your photo? I see you say, whoa, that's me. I'm not sure if you're talking about this being your photo, but if it is, congrats. This is our silver prize winning photo for our night photo contest. Oh, yes, it is. Hooray. Nice. Okay, shot with the
Nice.
Lumix
Lumix.
LX100.
Oh, cool.
Very cool to have you. If you have any thoughts you want to share about why you took this photo, everyone seems to be liking it, and yeah, we really liked it. So congrats.
Yeah, I mean, we don't normally have someone here that has the photo, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about it. Like, where were you standing, and yeah, setting and whatnot. If you have them off the top of your head, post wise.
The Lumix LX, I don't even know what that is. LX.
That's a small camera. I'm
It's like
pretty sure.
a point and shoot type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it just goes to show you, like, you don't need like a super high end professional camera to be taking like professional looking photos. I think.
Even night photos.
Even at night photos. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's
Yeah.
get to
Really,
our
really, really great photo.
our gold prize. Our top photo is from Maciel Vera, and the photo is this one right here. And this one, I mean, this just stood out to all three of us, I think, as just an amazing composition, perfect example of a night photo, and to me, a great one of including a subject who has maybe a headlamp looking over this body of water,
So
which
cool.
adds so much to this photo compared to just if this subject wasn't here, if this little bright spot wasn't here, it would still be an interesting photo, but a photo that you kind of have, there's so many layers to it that you keep watching it. And this is another one, the quality was so poor on Facebook, but still I could tell this is an amazing photo. So I would love to see this one full resolution if I could.
Yeah.
I love.
I think this is.
Go ahead,
Will.
Sam.
Sam.
Okay. I think this is a great thing or example of doing night photography, and you have this beautiful landscape, obviously, but having a subject, having something to sort of help add a story, add something a bit more than just a landscape with the stars. And I think the placement using the headlamp in there as well. I would guess that there's actually a moon out as well in this shot that is behind that is illuminating those mountains to still have some color in them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things have to line up to get this kind of shot this clear. So yeah, really, really wonderful photo, and love the addition of the headlamp. I mean, adding that turquoise water in there is just such a cool look. So
Yeah, I think for many reasons too. Like I think I was gonna say the same thing about the subject, but like the light gives you, it lets the person standing there pop more from the background. And I think if that wasn't there, that person would sort of get lost in it. And so I think when thinking about putting a subject, is like separation of like colors and contrast is like really good, especially with a person in front of this vast thing. There's just so much to look at in this photo.
Yeah.
And I think that's really great. Make a great print for sure too.
Cool. Well, congrats to everyone who won our prizes, but there were so many other great photos, and we wanted to showcase some of our other favorites. So we're just going to go through some of our other favorites and let all the photographers know if you're watching this and you're enjoying these photos, post in the comments, let us know which ones you really like. Some really great ones. So can I hide us? Let's see. I want to move us so we can see the names. But here are two kind of interesting photos with the somewhat long exposure, a longer exposure. This is Shailene Upadhyay and Denise Ash. Two really cool photos. How did you think they got that one on the left?
The one on the left looks like a long exposure from an iPhone or a phone, just because I've seen the way the iPhone crushes the sky like that and softens it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It looks like it's someone with a headlamp and another phone in their hand that was like in the car and then they ran away, like back towards the camera to me. But it's so hard to tell. It looks cool though. It almost looks like a car commercial, like an advertisement.
I think they did like a 10-second exposure or something. I agree about the phone. I mean, I don't know if it's the Facebook compression or the phone compression, but I think they did like, a 10-second exposure and then right at the 9-second mark,
Yes,
moved it.
move the camera.
So it enabled like the car and everything to stay
Oh,
crunchy, and then you still get those star trails. Because, the
I
light off the front of the car and off that side window, like you still get those streaks, and it's just everything else is so dark that only those really light things, in that last second of movement got that, would be my guess. I don't know. It's just such a cool, because it's so clear and crispy, and yet you have, like in the other photo, you can see like her face, like you can see some things were moving there, so it's not really crispy. But yeah, I don't know. It's a cool photo. They're both
and
really
that one,
cool photos.
the one on the right was definitely used with like a phone or something that's spinning around a bunch.
Yeah. So, do you think I bet, was someone behind her, this person kind of moving the phone around? Because
No, 'cause the light looks like it's in front of her too, like between her and the camera.
yeah.
That's a hard
I feel
tell, but
like
it's
it's like
cool
like
effect.
string lights or something, like a bunch of lights that she's like
Spinning.
twirling.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, maybe
maybe.
she's twirling with her right
See,
hand.
see behind her?
Oh, yeah. Like she would be
Yeah.
like going around like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. That might be
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
is.
Exactly.
Cool. All right. Well, great stuff. We've got a bunch more, so let's get through them. This one, Vimarsh Parikh,
Oh,
thank you for posting this one.
Oh,
attach the
she
light to
attached the
her
lights
hair.
to her
Sorry.
hair.
Oh,
Very
nice.
cool.
And she's
Very
going back and
cool.
forth. Smart.
Interesting.
That's like, it's like the water shot where you come out of the water and you do that,
Yeah,
and
but with
all the
lights.
hair does that whole thing. But doing it with light, that's very cool. That's very cool.
This
This
one's
one,
awesome. Just the storytelling. I mean, the photo itself,
I
being
love
able to see
this.
the Milky Way up there is awesome. But then also having the person shining the light up there, it tells a much deeper story.
yeah, I feel like this one's going back to like what Sam said about the other one, is like having having a subject and telling a story in front of a vast thing is like so much more impactful than imagine if you took that person out without that light. Yeah, I feel like it would be a completely different photo. Not nearly as impressive. It's impressive, but not really as impressive.
Cool. A couple other ones. We got Lucas Jan with the Golden Gate Bridge and Gary Hill. Both like just classic shots, classic night shots. This one on the left, Lucas, great day to take this photo. You get a lot of light on the bridge just from the lights that are there, but then also from the night sky. I mean, this is a pretty bright night shot, but just and great composition too.
Yeah.
And Sam, I'd be curious because you've probably spent more time in that area than Phil and I, but like, that's a hard photo to get, right? Of the Golden Gate Bridge and stars in the background, and like it be crispy enough to like see.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I wonder if this is a photo composition or like two things or like a bracketed shot because that bridge is bright. Like it is very lit up. And to get both that and the stars in the background, or maybe it's super like early morning, almost. Well, no, because there's kind of light to the left, which means the sun would be setting. So, yeah, I'm not. That's an incredibly hard photo to get. I've gone out there and shot long exposure of the bridge, and there's no way I could get a long enough exposure with stars in it. So, super clear night, maybe winter night, or super early morning when maybe some of the lights aren't as turned on. But yeah, super difficult photo. I know exactly where they're standing to get that shot, and it's it's rare to see an image you've seen thousands of times and then to see it done differently. Like it's really cool. It's such a iconic landmark, and then this added bonus of the stars in the background and stuff. It's really pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome shot, Lucas. And Gary, just classic shot of the moon. I don't know if we got many shots of the moon in this contest. I don't really remember.
I feel like we did. This one would have been the better one. I love the exposure on it because you can see the shape of the moon. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, just really
and it's so crispy. Like the definition on the moon is so clear. Like it's really cool.
It's crazy. I mean, like I've taken photos of the moon, and with our cameras nowadays and the resolution, it's pretty awesome to be able to see the moon, like these details, and to capture it yourself. It's just insane. Here's another one. Peter posted this one. This was a very similar vibe. I feel like this could be the next scene from the one that Jorge shot. Similar color palette, and just like the scene, you see these people hanging out outside. You've got, it looks like a silhouette of a couple people inside this shop or something.
So much going on.
Yeah, just very cinematic. And like you could tell they did some interesting edits, like up here. I don't know if it's just because it's dark or if they did like sort of a desaturation up here to focus your eyes on like the blue in the middle, and then the warmth of this car makes it pop. Really cool photo. We've got a couple more. Alex Georgian on the left. That was one of Sam's faves, and Alessandro on the right. The one on the right, I'll just say really quick, just like another great way to make a photo that's probably been taken millions of times more interesting by doing it at night, capturing a long exposure with a car going by, and you see these lights. So that just made this one stand out to me a lot. And the one on the left, very subtle, but a really cool photo too. Dancing.
You think that one's the earliest at night or latest in the day that still qualifies as the night photo?
Just made the cutoff.
Just there. Like the sun is just.
I think twilight.
Yeah, seeing the moon. Yeah, you see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love the subtlety of it. Like very subtle colors. Like add a subject in there, and then than the moon. It's just like
It
a
looks like a
great,
movie.
very like that as a print. I think would be really pretty if done right. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cinematic
I
too.
guess you're right. Is that really
I didn't think anything of
night?
it.
It
Yeah.
qualifies. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like it qualifies. It's
Yeah.
just on the cusp.
Tim Schofield posted this one. Maybe one of you guys can explain how this photo works for people who are interested,
Sam
because
does these all the time.
Um, this would be so. This is looking north. So depending on where you shoot long exposure photos, we're spinning around and around, and Polaris, the North Star, is that center point. So that's actually, that looking at this photo, that middle point is true north, at least where Polaris is. I guess true north is no longer where Polaris is, but and then looking at this one, I would guess that it's just a very long, like minute long, 5 minute long, 20-minute long exposure that is getting the sort of star blurs. The ones where you get, full blurred effect is typically many photos taken and then stacked together, which this one
Oh,
could be as well. So you're taking like a time lapse of an hour long of photos, and then you put those all together, and you basically get the movement of the stars like that. So it's either that or just in camera very long. I've had trouble with the really long exposures in camera. Typically, it adds too much grain and like noise for me. But with all these types of photos, you're doing probably a lot of post editing. But the
this
amazing
person
thing with this
didn't.
image is that even at how long it was, and I guess they could have darkened the foreground, but that is a dark sky. I mean, off in the
yeah.
distance, there's some light pollution, but like background is dark. And even if there was, I mean, there's some details in there, but being out there during a new moon or when before the moon has risen or after it's set, like that's where you're able to get these. And then, yeah.
Cool. So if anyone's tuning in live right now, welcome. We're just going over some of our favorite photos from the night photo contest. Let us know where you're tuning in from and what camera you use. Our 2 favorite facts that we like to know about you. We're just going to go through a couple more of our favorites, then open it up to questions and answers. So we have a few more photos here. We got May with this cool photo right here, and Gustavo with this other photo of the Milky Way with some cows. Just great photos. Really interesting. This looks like some sort of installation. I don't know where it is, but big lit up ball, unless they brought that or something somewhere. Very cool photos.
Looks like it's in a park or something. And I love the choice of exposure on that, because you could very easily like blow that whole thing out and have tons more light there, or go the other direction and really crank it down. But the choice to like let the light be exposed on the grass there a little bit, let the person be silhouetted, and just let it, kind of fade off into the darkness with the hint of the buildings in the background is like a very cool choice.
Yeah.
Artistically.
Yeah, and Gustavo, I think this again, the having more of a story than just like taking a shot of the Milky Way is great, but being able to combine that into a scene that, well, I don't know, just makes it a little deeper meaning with the cows and everything. On the other hand, Rob posted this photo of this galaxy far, far away, and I just had to include this because I have no clue how you really got this.
Did Rob post any like information, like what telescope they were using?
I'm not sure. It must have been through like an actual telescope, though, right? They're not shooting this with like a long lens.
No, what is that?
This is through a telescope and then also with a star tracker. So you actually punch in coordinates and it moves with this to get a long enough exposure to really show the details of it.
Yeah, I just had to include this because the skills to be able to do this is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And that's it for our night photo contest. So thank you so much for participating. A big round of applause to the winners. I'll be reaching out to you to get you your prizes. So check your Facebook messages in the next couple days. And here you can see we have tons of resources over at photographyandfriends.com. So if you're new to our group, to our courses, head over there. We've got podcasts, we've got blog articles, we got free videos, we've got our Plus community, and so much more. So let's get to our Q&A. So if you have questions, go ahead and post them into the chat now. Anything photography related, life related. We are here for the next half hour to impart our wisdom on you or whatever.
While we're waiting, Sam just told us before we started that he has started to fall more in love with a 50 millimeter lens than a 35 millimeter lens. And I want to know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've loved the 35. I think multiple times on this chat, I've told people like either get a zoom lens or get a 35 millimeter as your first lens because I love 35 millimeter. And I was thinking about it, I don't know that I've ever actually owned a 50 millimeter prime before.
Come on.
I don't know. I don't think I have. I've had them in zoom, like the zoom focal length, but I just never really shot them. And I recently picked one up, a Voigtlander Apo Nocton f1.2. But it's, I don't know, for portraits, for walking around, for street photography, for just, I've been using it a bunch on these last couple trips. And something about it has a bit more compression than the 35 millimeter.
And by compression,
I just really like it.
And like your subject and your background feel closer together than further away, right?
Yeah, well, and also the separation of the two. Like if I shoot at f2, I feel like it falls off out of focus quicker, and I can get like a full body shot, but still have like, things out of focus in the background. So it's something different. I think I got so used to shooting 35 millimeter, and I love shooting, longer telephoto lengths as well, but it's kind of fun switching something I was just so used to and now walking around with a different one, because a lot of the trips I'll just take one lens, and it's just like, that's what I'm going to take photos with. And so instead of 35, it's been 50 for the last month or so, or a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks. We have a ton of questions now.
Yeah. Thanks for waffling for a minute, Sam.
Yeah.
Anytime. I'm good at it.
I knew that would buy us some time.
All right, let's get to some of these questions. Chris Young asks about Photoshop, understanding what rasterizing means and why you can't do that.
Love that word.
So when you're dealing with graphics like text or shapes in Photoshop, you're using vectors, which basically means you could infinitely scale those graphics. And with photos, they're not infinitely scalable. And when you put it into Photoshop, you have to convert it to pixels to do to apply certain effects to it. And so basically, to rasterize something means to turn a vector into pixels. And it's just because Photoshop can't apply certain effects, or you can't do certain things to a vector layer. So that's a little bit advanced, but hopefully, Chris, that makes sense.
Good question. Good answer, too.
Thanks. The Major Video Show asked, do you think the Rode mic is good?
Oh, man, there's so many different types of Rode mics.
Yeah, there's so many, but they're all, I use Rode mics all the time.
Yeah, they make great products for their price point. Like, I think depends what you're using it for. But for tons of my like run and gun tour days documentary stuff, would just have it on top of my camera, and for most things, like it got better quality than what you're going to get straight out of camera. Of course, if you have like some big fancy shotgun mic and like have a sound person like putting it right in the perfect spot, that's going to be better. But for majority of things, it's going to work really well. You just have to pay attention to like, oh, you lose me?
No. I was just going to say something. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Just for most things, it's going to work really well. So yeah, you just have to be aware of your sound surroundings
your sonic
Um,
area around you. Sam and I use the Rode wireless go-tos all the time, and they're pretty
yeah.
good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I
Yeah.
got some after you that they're so easy to use. The quality I realized because I shot some course videos, they're not as good as like using a higher quality
For sure.
mic. Like here, another Rode lens, but it's the Rode NTG3, I believe. Something like this is the quality is gonna be a lot better than the wireless mics. But for like run and gun by yourself, those are great. Or popping the Rode Video Mic Pro on top of your camera, that's probably like one of the best onboard camera options that you can get, especially for the price point.
Yeah.
So yes, I would say 6 thumbs up.
That being said, if you're willing to drop the money, like Sennheisers and the Sonys, and like they make amazing products, and it costs like way more money. So I think Rode is a great thing if you're just getting into it. And like Will said, the Rode mic Goes that we've been using, and I think DJI now has one as well. They both work fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. One man's opinion asks for an opinion. What made you go into photography? All of you guys, if possible. So
We could
I
talk
think,
about this for an hour.
yeah, I know. I think we need to limit ourselves to like 1 minute each. But I also want to know what everyone here tuning in, why you got into photography or are getting into photography right now. So, Will, you start since you're the eldest of us. We'll go oldest to youngest.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Oh wow! Under pressure. I actually picked up a professional camera, film camera when I was like 13 that my mom had, and I don't know. I think I just gravitated towards it because I liked it more than anything. And then throughout high school, there's a dark room, and I really just like enjoyed the process of photography and that art more so than anything else. Nowadays, I love doing it, so I turned it into my job for most of the things. And video is also, I don't know. I just feel like photos and images is just a really good way to express yourself, and I love doing that. And on a philosophy note, it is like the only way that you can like capture literal time. Like you can literally time travel through photography, and that for me is something special that nothing else comes close to, and I just love it.
Yeah. All right, Sam.
You have 8 seconds left. Okay.
Wow, with time to spare.
I yield the rest of my time to Sam.
Oh, your time's up. I got into photography because my dad had a camera. Well, my mom's grandfather had a darkroom in their house, and then my dad's mother had a darkroom in their house. So both my grandparents had darkrooms, and there were these like mysterious places that I didn't really understand what was happening. And then my dad always had a camera on, family vacations and stuff. And there's something about it's more so there's this cool piece of technology that I could like go and take photos with. It was less about taking good photos or art or anything like that. It was just like this cool advanced thing. And then just kind of kept doing it. But really for me, the video and cinematography was like I was doing skateboard videos and all that kind of stuff. But photo kind of lent itself to that kind of area as well. It wasn't until college that I got into a darkroom and actually got to process photos. And that's probably when I first fell in love with photography, because before that, it was just like a fun thing to do. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm similar to you. I think, Will, like for me, photography was the creative art form that I fell in love with in high school, and I was good at it, I guess, because I wasn't good at like drawing and painting or music really. But I think I got more into it because it actually is connected to baseball, because I had a passion for baseball. I wanted to be a baseball player when I was young. When I realized that wasn't going to pan out, I started a little TV show talking about baseball in high school. Before YouTube, we would have been such big stars now if we were doing this when YouTube was around. But it's just like the local channel. My buddy and we talked about baseball every week, and then I got interested in the behind the scenes of how how we were actually making these videos and using cameras for photography. But I mean, like you guys said, like now when I look at photo, I posted this on my Instagram just last week, looking at photos from 5-10 years ago. It just brings you back to those moments more than anything. And well, maybe video would too, but I just don't have as much video to go back to. It's harder to go back and watch videos from 10 years ago compared to looking at a photo and being like, holy crap, like time has gone on, like remember how fun that was to do that. And so just capturing those moments now is kind of what I love about photography most. So
I think what you both said, like photography is like the literal cross section point of technology, if you're interested in tech and gear, and art, which is like creativity and stuff. It's literally that intersection, and I think that's like both of you were saying.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will say though, like photography was always something for like trips or family things, or I mean, I guess I worked as a photographer in college, but it really wasn't until Instagram that the idea of pushing myself to do a bunch of landscape photography or like I don't know, there was a definitely like there's also an outlet for my photos to go somewhere. I don't know that I would have gotten so into lugging a camera on a backpacking trip to take photos if I didn't have a place that I was going to be sharing them. Like maybe I would have. I really don't know, but I think that's a big proponent. Like Instagram was a huge proponent for me to push myself in the creative elements of it. Because before is sort of documenting time with family and things like that. Uh, Granted, you know, today and also with video, that's where my creativity and that kind of stuff comes from. But um, yeah, Instagram, I think for me played a huge part in like pushing myself creatively.
Yeah. Man, Instagram, we had a big conversation about Instagram in our private Photography and Friends Plus community during one of our weekly live sessions last week. We can maybe talk about it at the end of today if we have more questions, but a lot of photographers hopping over to Vero, the app, and we talked about some other alternatives. But yeah, and if you're interested in our weekly live sessions, if you like what we're doing here today, head over to photographyandfriends.com/plus, or just click on the plus link and you can find out more about our private community there.
Where we do a live stream every week.
Yep. Dedicated platform to answering your questions, doing photo critiques, all kinds of stuff like that. Denise, Shutterbug Denise talked about why she loves photography because the art and beauty, particularly walking on trails and being connected to nature. And she also had a great question. How can you reduce distortion of structures when using a wide angle lens? This is a really good question.
So, there's a couple things that come to mind for me at least. One is that optically, some lenses when they get really wide are just going to distort, and that's just what happens. So, what you can do is zoom in slightly, and that will help with that distortion. You might have to step back to get that same field of view, but zooming in what will help it there. The other thing you can do if you're using Lightroom or some other photo editing um, softwares have is a actual lens correction in which it can read what lens you're using and it will help correct that distortion when editing the photos. But that being said, some wide, with really wide angle lenses and same with like really telephoto lenses, the quality is sort of what you pay for. More expensive super wide angles will have close to no distortion, even at 12 millimeters. But if you have one that's a bit cheaper, like you're going to get that distortion. It's just part of how the lens is built, and it's sort of that look. So there's really not a whole lot you can do in that unless the Lightroom, it does a really good job of correcting it, but those corners are still going to be a little soft. It's still going to feel a little distorted. Even like the iPhone, the new ones have that really wide angle lens, and you can see the distortion is really strong. And yeah, it's just kind of the effect of the optics of the lens.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I guess the other thing is in camera, you can try to pay attention to like where you're positioned. Maybe getting higher up or farther away can help with that with a wide angle lens. But yeah, definitely check out the Lightroom lens correction and the straight in lines feature, which I go over in the Lightroom class, which can really help. And it's a tool that photographers just use. Yeah, they're just going to be editing their photos after the fact. So, Arjit Bomik asked mirrorless or DSLR, which is better? I don't want to dive into this because we've talked about it every single time, I feel like, but I do want to answer your question and say both are great. Most brands are committing to mirrorless as the future. Some are just discontinuing their DSLR lines, and you can take great photos with either. DSLRs are a little bit more affordable now, or have been, but mirrorless cameras are also getting to be very affordable. So
I don't think there's advantages and disadvantages to both.
Yep. And we've talked about it.
And even at that, it's pretty minor.
Yeah. So if you have like a specific question about like a specific model, if you're looking at a Canon Rebel versus their mirrorless line, let us know. But both are great. Let's see what other questions we got. BK Winters.
BK Winters was the next. Yeah.
I noticed that when I take sunset photos with my phone, the sun is in the photo. There's a little bright sun dot in the photo. How do I avoid that? So that's just like the lens reflection. And if you have a camera with a lens, I actually have a lens hood right here that you would put on your lens so that the angle of the sun isn't creating that little reflection in the glass. And if you're using your phone, you can try put your hand in front of your lens or use a hat or something and see if you can kind of block the sun.
Well, if the sun is in the photo, you're not going to be able to avoid that.
Yeah. I mean, depending on where in the photo. If you're shooting directly at the sun, right?
Well, I think he's saying that the actual sun itself is the point where the sun dot's happening.
Oh.
Like opposed to a lens flare, I think he's talking about like the actual sun itself is like just
okay.
super
Well,
bright.
That's gonna be tough to get rid of.
Yeah. I mean, I guess potentially in post, I wonder if using the red eye, like in the iPhone, there's like a red eye filter or editor. I wonder if that would get away with it. So I was looking at my photos to see if I could find a sun shot that does that for me, but I can't find anything right now.
I mean, that's it. Probably post-production editing, you can remove those kinds of things. In the iPhone, I don't know with the editing, the iPhone app, but if you use like Lightroom mobile or Photoshop Express or any of these like mobile apps that have like a heal tool, you could probably get rid of that.
Yeah, it'd be a really easy thing to get rid of with any of those.
BK, if you have a photo, post it into like the Facebook group or something, and we can check it out so we can see an example of what you're talking about. Okay, Chris Young asks, so he posted this and then asks which you want to learn all three of these. Which ones would you start with? Photoshop, Premiere Pro, and After Effects. I would, if you're interested in the video side more and you're passionate about that, I would start with Premiere for video editing, add After Effects, which is going to add graphics and effects to your videos, but you need to know Premiere to edit. And then Photoshop is great for photography, graphic design, but also for creating visuals and things that you might import into After Effects. So I would probably learn that one last, unless you're more passionate about photography, graphic design. Start with Photoshop, go to Premiere Pro, then After Effects.
Yeah. And if you're really into graphic design, I mean, Illustrator would probably be
another one,
more beneficial at that point, or InDesign. But it really depends if you're doing photo or video more so, or graphics.
Yeah, and I see you added a couple comments about wanting to edit photos for websites. Photoshop's good to know that. All All right, let's see.
Shout out
Chris,
to Will for his food photography course.
yep.
Oh, that's good. We need to update that, but I'm glad that helped you out a lot.
You know, we can update it with some more advanced techniques. Maybe what I
Yeah.
was just showing you today.
Oh man, you should see this photo that Phil took today.
But I
Cool.
think it's like a great. It's it's like it doesn't matter what camera you're using with that class. It just teaches you some good tips for food photography. Let's see. We got more questions down below. I'm just scrolling, so bear
Yeah.
with me. If you guys see any questions, just let me know. But I'm just scrolling down. Shutterbug Denise asks, "Oh, this is interesting. What is the relationship between color and aperture? I find that some of my photos at small apertures are kind of faded in color compared to larger apertures."
That's interesting. I don't know if I've ever really experienced that, at least with modern cameras.
I find that small
I I
apertures.
I think technically it shouldn't impact it outside of if you're not correcting the shutter and ISO. Like if you close down the aperture and you let in less light, if your ISO and shutter don't reflect, that compensation to bring in more light, if it's overall darker photo, the colors would be less poppy than if it was a brighter photo.
I
But if
do.
you, yeah,
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I do know that like when you open up, like super open up, like a 1.4 or something like that, you'll start to get a little bit more chromatic aberration depending on your lens, which means there's might be highlights of things that might be different colors depending on your lens. Um,
Yeah, or maybe it's just like when small apertures faded in color. I would have thought like maybe you're just seeing that if there's like a shallower depth of field when more things are blurry, you're not seeing the
mm,
contrast in colors. But I'm not sure, that shouldn't really be a thing. But again, if you have examples, post it to the Facebook group and tag us, because sometimes we don't see all. There's so many posts. Tag us
yeah.
in your posts if you want us to see.
I would love to see this and dive into that a little bit because I do, how cameras react to different settings and like how that impacts the colors and the overall look. I think is a really, it's a technical but also artistic thing, like the two worlds coming together. So
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing to dive deeper into.
One man's opinion has another question about do you need talent to be a great photographer or not so much? Um, I mean, I guess the question is, can you learn talent to be talented, or do you have to have like natural, innate talent to be a good photographer?
I don't. I mean, I think that becomes subjective on like what you think is talent, what you think is a good
Mm-hmm.
photo or not a good photo. But the beautiful thing about photography is that you can just plug in all the right technical things, and it's up to you to sort of decide where you're pointing the camera. So there's like a balance of that,
Mm-hmm.
right, between like creativity and like talent. I think you could also like set up a studio lighting situation with like a specific thing, plug in all the numbers and technical things that you would know. That doesn't really require as much talent other than like looking up what to put on into your camera. But if you're talking about other art, again, it's like subjective and objective
Yeah, and
uh,
there's going to be some people who are naturally gifted at just finding
compositions and stuff.
compositions that are more interesting to look at. Um, but Sam, I see you thinking.
Yeah,
No,
he's like,
I
man,
just no, I completely agree with what you guys are saying. I think a mathematician or a biologist or a physicist could be an amazingly talented photographer because they understand the Fibonacci,
technical stuff. Yeah,
spiral, or they understand like, geometry, or they understand photosynthesis. They understand like what it is that is capturing light. Um, would they take, a wartime photo and be able to like take those amazing photos? Probably not. They'd probably,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's like there's so many levels of what it means to be able to capture an image. And I think a talented photographer is simply someone that can get exposure and the settings correct
Mm-hmm.
and then capture the moment. I think at a certain point we all will learn the tool well enough that we don't think that much about the camera, and that doesn't even matter that much. I mean, there's been incredible photos taken with, iPhones at this point, and there's been amazing photos taken with $20,000 Hasselblads.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's so many layers to what it is. So no, I don't think, I think you can definitely learn to be talented in photography, but I also think you can be in the right place at the right time and get an amazing photo
Yeah.
with no knowledge of photography whatsoever.
I
You know,
think
I know incredibly untechnical people that take amazing photos.
Yeah,
So
totally. And I think I have to plug a few things. One, going back to the Photography Friends Plus, we are spending a little bit more time dedicated with the members there. So we can see, like, we can really see people progress as photographers. And I think they would say that they are becoming more talented, or they're just becoming better photographers because they're putting the work and effort into it. And whether that means just forcing yourself to go out there or taking part in things like our contests or our just practicing prompts and things like that, that's going to help you become a better photographer. And so, like, a lot of you come in from our photography masterclass, and that's a great course to learn how to use your camera, how to use the manual settings, how to learn, like, just understand how to take good photos with whatever cam you're doing. But we have a lot of other classes that take you to a next level, whether it's night photography or travel photography or product photography or whatever. So if you're interested in, like, those specific skills, try taking one of those classes. And all the links, if you go to videoschool.com, will be on the photography page for those classes. And also, I'll just pitch, I just launched a new, I'm calling it the Advance Your Photography class. And this one is really specific to, I know my camera, I know how to take a photo, it's exposed properly, I know basic composition, but, like, what can I do with this situation and make it a better photo? And so if you're, like, sitting there, like, thinking, I'm not talented enough, or what do I need to do to make these photos I'm taking better, that's a great class for that. So I'll post a link to that one. And then again, videoschool.com. I just launched that last week, so check it out. People are enjoying it so far, but check out videoschool.com for all of our classes. And then also Photography and Friends Plus, if you're interested in our one-on-one support that can help you. Let's see. We got a couple more minutes, and I've got a hard out at 12. So Chris Young asks about Photoshop or Lightroom for editing metadata. You can add metadata in Lightroom, but if you're just adding comments and things like that, yeah, I would just say Lightroom. Any other good ones?
So the dot is not in the sun, but in the photo. So that is the lens flare. You're gonna have to do some post editing, or what you can do if you center the sun, like, as you move the photo, you'll see the lens flare moving basically. But if you're taking a photo straight at the sun, it's unfortunately going to be kind of inevitable that you're going to get that. Try the red eye setting. Let us know if that works though.
Yeah. Greg Christeman asks about, do you include both unedited and finished in Lightroom Library? I'm assuming so in Lightroom, because it's non-destructive editing, if you're editing a raw photo, it's going to have all the
versions of it.
So you don't need to, like, create a separate version necessarily. So usually I just import all my raw photos that I want to edit. I'll edit those photos, but knowing that you have the unedited version to go back to. You also asked about adjusting browns and tans in Lightroom. I'm guessing you're talking about, like, with specific colors. You'll find a lot of browns and tans you can edit with the yellows and oranges and reds. Otherwise, there's not, like, a specific tan slider. You would have to do, like, if there's something specific in your photo, you'll have to use, like, a mask adjustment to pinpoint that.
If on the right side, when you're under the develop tab, if you scroll down, there's the HSL/color area, and just mess with the saturation and luminance and hue, and just wiggle that up and down and see when it, whatever the brown or tan is in the photo, like, see how that impacts those. And then also, if you're looking at specific brown and tan of the image, like skin tones or, a specific thing, I would use a mask. In the top right, there's, like, the little selector thing, and create a mask around that thing, and then just specifically affect the orange, yellow, a little bit of red and browns typically. So
Yep. And Chris Young, last one to close it out, has asked a few times about exporting Photoshop for web, lossless or lossy. You'll want to do lossy for web because you want to compress your photos. You don't want full resolution unless you're doing like a portfolio. But if you're just building websites and you have images on there, you want small file sizes so they load easily for people. Lossless means it includes all the information. It's uncompressed. So you want some sort of lossy compressed image. Boom. And it's 12 o'clock. Wow. We got through all those questions. If you have more questions, post them in the Facebook group, post them in our courses. If you need a lot more help, check out photographyandfriends.com/plus. We're there live every week. We've got our whole dedicated platform there. And yeah, thanks for being here. Will and Sam, thanks for being here too. We will see you next month for a live stream, but take part in the macro photography contest. That's now live in the Facebook group. And until then, just
photographyandfriends.com.
Yeah, we'll see you in class and have a beautiful day, everybody.
See ya.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.